From wild card to world stage, Eala's Miami magic changed everything. For Eala, the journey from promising junior to global contender didn't arrive quietly. It exploded under the Miami lights, in a week that rewrote her career trajectory and reshaped how the tennis world looked at the Philippines. Just a year earlier, Eala was grinding through the WTA Challenger Tour and ITF circuit, ranked outside the elite at number 140, largely unknown beyond dedicated followers of women's tennis. Entry into the sport's biggest tournaments was still out of reach. Then came a wild card, an opportunity, and a run that felt almost unreal. Miami was not just another tournament. It became a coming-of-age moment. Eala didn't simply advance. She dismantled expectations. Former French Open champion Jelena Ostapenko fell. Australian Open winner Madison Keys followed. Then came the shockwave victory over world number 2 Iga Swiatek, already a 5-time Grand Slam champion at the time. By the time she reached the semifinals, Eala wasn't just a feel-good story. She was must-watch tennis. The run ended against Jessica Pegula, but the damage was already done, in the best possible way. Rankings leapt. Doors opened. History followed. Eala surged into the world's top 100, becoming the first Filipina ever to do so, and the spotlight that arrived never really left. Looking back, Eala herself describes that stretch as the defining moment so far, not just because of the wins, but because of what clicked internally. Suddenly, she wasn't imagining life on the WTA Tour. She was living it. Every match became proof that she belonged on the same courts as the sport's biggest names. What followed was not a slowdown, but momentum. A Grand Slam debut at Roland Garros. A breakthrough run to her first WTA final at Eastbourne. Another milestone at the US Open, where she claimed her first main draw Grand Slam win and advanced to the second round, again making Philippine tennis history. Soon after, she captured her maiden WTA Challenger title in Guadalajara, reinforcing that her rise was not built on one magical week alone. Now ranked a career-high number 31 after a strong quarterfinal showing in Dubai, Eala's story has evolved from breakout sensation to sustained contender. Yet, there is still a sense of wonder in how she speaks about that initial leap, the moment when everything changed and the dream suddenly felt real. For Eala, Miami wasn't just a highlight. It was a doorway. And every tournament since has been another step through it, carrying with her not only personal ambition, but the growing belief of an entire nation watching one of its own thrive on the world stage. From wild card to world stage, Eala's Miami magic changed everything. In tennis, the word wild card often carries a quiet implication. It suggests promise, potential, maybe even politics, but rarely expectation. A wild card is the name penciled into the draw without the resume to command attention. It is an invitation, not a prediction. For Eala, that single word once stood between obscurity and opportunity. And in Miami Open, it became the spark that lit a transformation, not just for her career, but for Philippine tennis itself. What happened in Miami was not simply a tournament run. It was a reckoning. The girl who carried a nation quietly. Long before Miami, Eala was already a symbol. Raised in a country where basketball courts outnumber tennis courts and Grand Slams feel continents away, she chose a sport that offered no shortcuts and no guarantees. Her journey took her from Manila to Spain's famed Rafael Nadal Academy, where she trained under the discipline and standards inspired by Rafael Nadal. There, she learned that talent whispers but work shouts. She became a junior Grand Slam champion. She learned how to win on clay, how to grind through 3-set battles, how to carry expectations before she was old enough to vote. Yet professional tennis is ruthless. Junior trophies don't win WTA matches. Rankings are earned, not remembered. And so she hovered in that in-between space, too accomplished to ignore, too unproven to fear. Until Miami, the wild card that no one feared. When Eala received a wild card entry into the Miami Open, it was polite recognition, a nod to her promise, a chance to test herself against players who lived permanently in the top tiers. To the tennis world, she was a footnote in the draw. To herself, she was ready. There is something dangerous about an athlete with nothing to lose. No defending points. No seeded pressure. No narrative to protect. Only belief. Her first match wasn't supposed to tilt the tournament's balance. But tennis has a way of rewarding courage. She struck her forehand with conviction. She chased down balls others would have surrendered. She played not like a guest, but like she belonged. And suddenly, people were checking the scoreboard twice. The night the world noticed. Upsets in tennis happen. But certain victories feel seismic. They don't just change brackets, they shift belief systems. When Eala stood across the net from a decorated Grand Slam champion, the storyline seemed pre-written. Experience versus youth. Pedigree versus wildcard. But the script didn't survive the first set. She played with clarity. No frantic overhitting. No wide-eyed hesitation. She absorbed pace, redirected power, and chose her moments. The crowd sensed something unfolding. An underdog who wasn't playing small. And when match point came, it wasn't a fluke. It was earned. With that final strike, the wild card label began to peel away. The handshake at the net carried more than sportsmanship, it carried recognition. The world had learned her name. More than a match. In the Philippines, televisions glowed deep into the night. Social media pulsed. News headlines wrote themselves. Children who had never held a tennis racket suddenly imagined it. Because representation does that. In a country rarely discussed in global tennis conversations, Eala's run cracked open a door. She wasn't just winning points, she was widening possibility. Her Miami campaign wasn't perfect. No Cinderella run ever is. There were tight moments, momentum swings, tests of nerve. But what separated her was composure. She did not look surprised to be there. And that, perhaps, changed everything most of all. The shift from hope to threat. Every young player dreams of being noticed. But being studied, that's different. After Miami, opponents prepared differently. Coaches analyzed her left-handed patterns. Commentators stopped calling her promising and started calling her dangerous. The shift is subtle but profound. A prospect hopes to compete. A contender expects to win. Miami did not crown her a champion. It did something more important, it legitimized her presence. She was no longer an inspiring story. She was a competitive reality. And in professional sports, respect is the most powerful currency. The anatomy of belief. What changed in Miami wasn't just ranking points. It was internal architecture. Athletes speak often about belief, but belief is fragile until tested under stadium lights. You can dominate practice sets. You can win junior majors. But defeating elite professionals on a global stage rewires the mind. It tells you, you're not far. It tells your team, the plan is working. It tells your country, stay with me. Confidence built in isolation is theoretical. Confidence forged in Miami is undeniable.